We're exposed to awareness campaigns every day on social media about it. We all know someone affected by it. Some of us will even be the ones affected, but there's still stigma and shame surrounding it.
I believe that there's no therapeutic value like one person experiencing a situation helping somebody else experiencing a similar situation.
And I called my best friend and I said, hey, I have this idea and it's going to seem pretty crazy. And she was like, here we go. And I said, next year, this was November of 2012, so in 2 months, at the beginning of next year, 2013, I'm going to travel the whole of Australia. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to travel the whole of Australia and talk to 250 schools and have an impact on about 50,000 young people and tell them the importance of following their dream, of believing in themselves and supporting each other in doing the same.
Nicole Gibson runs the Rogan Rouge Foundation, a mental health charity group, and engages with school-aged young people within the community. Dirt took a trip with Nicole to visit rural Queensland while she conducted some workshops.
You feel good?
Yeah.
Have you ever spent time doing anything like that before?
No, I don't daydream.
Can you see it crystal clear when you start to think about it? Awesome. And what do you want to do, like, ultimately? What's your dream?
Wouldn't have a goal or no dreams really.
Did you used to when you were younger?
Oh, I suppose.
These workshops teach young people to visualise their dreams and set goals for the future, as well as inspire them to make changes within their schools, family or social groups. Often young people feel isolated and frustrated at the lack of options and support available to them.
What's the difference between here and Chinchilla? What does Chinchilla have that St George doesn't?
I don't know. It's just got a different vibe about it, I suppose.
More community?
Yeah.
I just need like more things out of it. Like, the only thing out is basically football.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. And what do most of the kids do, like, when they don't have footy training?
If they don't have footy training, they roam the streets or do drugs and get drunk and everything.
I think sometimes we forget to ask the youth. Everyone else decides for them.
Some service providers, such as Youth In Search, recognise the difficulty in living in rural areas and help to implement projects that give people a purpose, as well as offering something back to the community.
People in Cunnamulla, I believe, from what I've observed, feel hopeless, helpless and left out of everything. We can't get people to come out and do workshops because it's too far. So I think it's a responsibility of the government to and community to work together to develop some sustainable industry out here. So currently I'm working with some partners to build an organic edible farm. If we can really start to think outside the square of how to attract and attract the money into these small remote towns, so tourists will come and stay and spend, and also to create employment.
The issue of mental health in Australia is so great that the federal government has increased funding to this area, according to budget data available for 2014 to 2015. Funding increase doesn't directly relate to more services provided, however, as government has also made an almost equal number of funding cuts for supporting services in this industry.
I feel like we are asked to do a job in a period of time, and that might be 3 years or it might be 12 months. And at the end of that, then the service that we've been providing a community is simply withdrawn with no thought to the effects of withdrawing that service, if you like, on the community members.
And the other issue is retention of staff, retention of mentors out here basically. So people come and go. So you just start to work with somebody and the next minute that person's gone and they have to tell the whole story over and over and over and over again. Everybody sticks together out here, whereas mentors they seem to be able to break into the community.
I think that removing funding has big impacts on communities who have just started to use services it can take 12 months to 2 years to get a foot in with some communities.
Statistics show that mental disorders account for about 13% of disease and injury nationwide at an estimated cost of productivity of $20 billion. Although this figure might be higher. Almost half the Australian population will experience a mental health disorder at some time in their life. At least a third of young people will have had a mental health struggle by the time they're 25.
Stigmatisation is a big thing in mental health, labels. I think we really also have to move away from these labels. At the end of the day, they're people, and for one reason or another, they've become unwell.
With mental health, often the underlying issue may be something else, such as drugs and alcohol or domestic violence. This makes it harder to treat the cause rather than the problem, as different departments handle these things separately and often with different budgets.
The crossover with mental health, drug and alcohol and domestic violence is huge. I mean, it's a complex issue.
That real medical model has to be broken down into a community personal model.
If we could partner with agencies who provide the support for mental health, who provide the drug and alcohol support, who then, I don't know, it just makes sense to me. It just makes sense to have everybody working together rather than opposing forces.
So what can we do? Service providers are already trying to alleviate the strain on society by offering programs that range from workshops in schools to counselling. The best thing we can do is to acknowledge that mental health issues are actually a real thing and to be supportive to people close to us.